So, in June of 2001, after I'd say about 7 years of rapping everywhere anybody would let me rap, I got a call while I was working in the mall at Hip Hop Trends, a store that my buddy Fade owned, and we had talked about Fade before. And Fade, he had hit me and he said, gentleman by the name of Ted Field wants you to fly out to LA and wants to talk to you about your music. So, being slightly arrogant and a little bit frustrated with music at that point, I was like, I don't know who Ted Field is. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, shit, if he wants to talk to me, we can talk about it. And so, right there in the mall, I left, packed up from work, went home thinking nothing of it. Very next day, Ted Field, Artist Direct, actually flew us out to Los Angeles. It was Thursday, June 12th. Now, I only remember because our meeting was Friday, June 13th, Friday the 13th. And, I went not really knowing what to expect. It was I had no idea it'd be as pivotal a moment as it was. We got to LA, met with the people we had been working with out there. I'd done a little bit of research, a little recon, trying to figure out exactly who Ted was and what Artist Direct was all about. It was really my first solid run-in with a record label, even though no question had been through as much as we had. We hadn't quite broke through on a national level and gotten to the point where our buzz warranted labels coming at us directly. We had some interest, but it wasn't what this was. So we went to LA, and I just remember the whole night, me and Fade, we sat trying to figure out, who is this guy? What is this meeting about? Could this be it? And sure enough, that following morning, we had a meeting at 11 o'clock at Artist Direct Records on Wilshire in Los Angeles. And I remember we said a prayer outside about 5 minutes before the meeting and walked through the doors, went through the process, got to Ted Field's office at 11 on the dot. And within 3 minutes of being in his office, he told me he was going to sign me to a major record deal. At the time, being ignorant of how the game worked and the industry worked, thought that was it. You know what I'm saying? This is it. From this point forward, his lifestyles of the rich and famous. We proceeded to talk with Ted a little more in detail. Just kind of get an idea of if this was real or not, because at the point it felt like pinch yourself, you know what I'm saying? I remember Ted going on to say, try as you may, you're not going to find a better deal than I'm going to offer you. And he proceeded to, pat us on the back and introduce us to the people at the label. And I remember leaving the office feeling a little bit overwhelmed. The story about how he even got the music, kind of lends to the fact, that I've been blessed through this whole thing. He actually heard a song of mine on a demo with a bunch of other artists that I was working with at the time that made up my group, The Associates. I was the last song on the demo, and his daughter happened to listen to the demo all the way through. He had listened to the first few records, thought we were okay as a group, but it wasn't really his thing. And his daughter happened to listen to the last song, which is called You're Not a Rapper, and loved the song, made Ted listen to the record, and after listening to the record, he decided to call me. It's crazy. It was a hell of a moment because as beautiful a moment as it was, it caused some dissension. I noticed the cats that I work with, it's hard to hear that a demo went out with everybody on it, and the one song, obscure song at the end of the demo happened to be the one that got picked and happened to just have me on it. So it was interesting to see how people would start to change. It was a lesson for real that I had to learn in real time. But sure enough, man, we tried, and we looked for a few other deals. We talked with Blackground, with Barry and Jomo Hankerson. We talked with Loud, Steve Rifkin over there. We reached out to Interscope and actually had two of the A&Rs, and a gentleman who I didn't know was vice president of, I want to say, of A&R, come through the studio, and we talked with them for a little while, and nobody had a better deal, man. We actually wound up signing with Ted on October 17th, 2001, and executed the paperwork. And from that point forward, I was actually an artist direct artist Sony BMG. I remember the negotiation was crazy because, I didn't trust anybody, not even people I was working with. So we had attorneys that were watching attorneys that were dealing with other attorneys, to a certain extent arguing with each other, because now all of a sudden there's a pie to split up. It's one thing, terms and friendship and everything is wonderful when there's no money involved, but once you start dangling that carrot and then you put that money on the table, everything changes. I always tell my pops that the best way I can explain the music business to him is it's a business of buying and selling dreams. And as an artist, you're trying to get somebody to buy your dream. You're selling it hard. And labels are in the business of buying dreams on wholesale for as little as possible, And knowing that, it's hard for me to take any ill feeling from anything that's happened because we're dealing with dreams. And when you think about it, what would you do to make your dream come true? Really, your dream, And so I try to apply that to everything going through it, as a excuse for myself, when I've made decisions that I didn't think were the best decision. I try to remember that I made that decision with my dream in mind, and I apply that to everybody else. So moving forward after we signed the deal and dealing with, the other artists I was working with and my team and the other producers, and, we made a good decision to sign a production company. 2220 was the company we formed as opposed to signing me directly to the label, which wound up working to my benefit down the line, but arguably it's a little bit of a greedy move by some of the other people I was working with. But I get it, I understand, and ultimately it protected me through a lot of stuff. But, it always leaves you wondering, what would have happened if, But signing that deal, man, it was a trip. Little did I know at the time it was 20% of the work. There was still a whole lot more work to go. And I would say that from the day I signed my deal from October 17, 2001, all the way up till now, it's been like school, man.